Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome to the show where we interview the nation's leading real estate entrepreneurs. It's your host, Stephen Schmidt, and I'm back at it like a bad habit. If you're joining us for the first time, thanks for joining in. Where you've been at, you're about to add this to the regular listening docket of your podcast selection. And if you're joining us for the second, third, or 100th time, welcome back. You already know you're going to get some value out of today's episode, and I got a real special treat for you guys. I got a Nashville native in the house, home of country music. He loves showing people around his hometown, being on the water, and he's also an avid bourbon collector, which is near and dear to my heart. But he's been in the real estate space for just over a decade now, and he does a little bit of everything from retail side as an agent to some investing, to some development, flips, and everything in between. And we're going to go into maybe some tips, tricks, and tactics to blow your business up if you're in the same space. So we'll get right into it. But I got Reed Sircy in the house, and we're going to get into a conversation. But before we do that, just remember, here at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses so they can build the businesses they've always wanted in order to live the lives they always dreamed of, which is what most of us get into this space for in the first place. So with that being said, Reed, welcome to the show.
Man, Steve, thanks for having me.
You bet. I'm glad you're here, brother. I haven't actually had anybody in Nashville hop on the show. I've had South Tennessee, West Tennessee, all that, but I haven't had anybody from the great city of Nashville on. So I guess let me ask you this so we can kind of set the tone for the episode. What made you decide to get into real estate 10 years ago or so, and how have things evolved to where you got to where you're at today?
Gosh, so I've got kind of an interesting introduction into sales and then into real estate.
Okay.
Growing up, my dad worked with a company called Southwestern Advantage. He was their CFO, and so as a young child, I would go on all the sales trips that all these really talented sales guys would go on, and so I didn't know anything about the company.
Yeah.
Ended up going to college, and I was trying to figure out what to do for a summer internship, and ended up getting the only thing I really knew about Southwestern is you worked really hard and you made a lot of money, and that was really it. Ended up going to an interview, and as it turned out, it was door-to-door sales, 80 hours a week, 100% commission, outside of state. And I remember sitting at that interview being like, oh, that sounds like a lot. Anyways, the more I learned about it, the more I learned that like all of these ultra successful people had come out of this. So the statistics of millionaires that come out is just off the charts. And I understand completely why, because it's really, really hard. And so when I was coming out of college or going into college, I learned really cutthroat sales. And it was a really good experience for me. It really put me in positions where I had to grow rapidly, a lot quicker. If you imagine like getting better at a career, doing it so fast, so quickly, I progressed a lot faster. So
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
I did that for 4 summers. My first summer, I set a goal to make 10 grand. I came back with like 12. Second summer, I doubled that and ended up working there for like 5 years. So it was a very intensive organization where I would basically walk in there, put my head down, go to work, and I would walk out 3 months later or 14 weeks later. And I mean, I'd be totally off the grid of just working really, really hard. They talked about 80 hours a week. I was doing probably closer to like 95. I mean, every day was like the most ridiculous thing ever. But I remember finishing that, and I remember being like, I really, really love working with people, but I hated this like no means next churn and burn type of sales. And so Southwestern itself has got a whole slew of companies. So I went around and interviewed several of those. My dad said, why don't you go meet with a group of his friends? You know, he came up with 5 people. I think I came up with 5 people. And I ended up meeting with a guy named Turney Stevens, who's the dean of the business school at Lipscomb, where I went to college. And Turney was a really good mentor. And he started talking to me about real estate because I had kind of decided that I was going to start a roofing franchise company and bring it up from Chattanooga to start in Nashville, which, you know, I probably would have enjoyed doing too. But he said something that kind of was like my light bulb moment for me. And he said, Reed, do you know how much it costs to buy 100,000 in stock? And I'm sitting there, you know, at this time, my dad's a financial advisor, but I don't think he's ever charged me because he had transitioned that. He had started like a Raymond James branch and they just sold it. But anyways, he asked me that. He said, how much does it cost to buy 100,000 stock? And I go, commission, maybe it's 102. Like, I have no idea. He says, no, it's 100,000. He says, how much does it cost to buy a $100,000 house? And I go, 100,000. He says, no, it's 20%. And then someone else pays it off. And at that moment, that was like, that sounds really cool. I think I'd like to do that. And if I'm going to do that, why don't I help my friends do that? And about a week later, I get a call from a guy named Kyle Feltz, who shout out to Bradford Real Estate. But he said, Reed, I'm starting a property management company. Why don't you come work for us? And they ended up paying for my licensing. They gave me a lunch card, which I'm so grateful for. I learned pretty quickly, like, I could go eat and I was paying for it, or I could go take someone to talk about real estate and it was paid for. And it was the best way to get started in real estate. I was an avid podcast listener to like Bigger Pockets. I'm sure a lot of your circle understands those, but was just absorbing as much stuff as I could. And then I was also learning the game of property management, where I'd go show all these rentals and I'd get the feedback from what people will pay for, what doesn't do well, which really laid a great foundation for me understanding how to successfully manage rental properties. And so that's kind of been my goal as of late, is really just to acquire one every 2 years. And I tend to try to go for the nicer properties because I've managed really cheap, really, you know, not maybe Section 8, but that. And I've also managed the ones that are really nice. And I kind of realized I just wanted to skip that first level where most investors cut their teeth on. And it's been surprisingly a great way to get started. In 2017, I bought my first house, which was a house hack. And it was pretty cool. I told my roommates, I was like, you guys are going to pay $700. We ended up getting like a really cool house, maybe 2,500 square feet. So I had 2 of those guys and we had so much fun in there. Had a big bonus room with a projector. And then my mortgage on it was $1,450. And so I ended up putting money into the house, and they ended up kind of taking care of the note.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
And still in that house today, and really have so many memories, and it's kind of been a fun ride to live with your friends, and now it's fun to not live with your friends. So yeah, I think I rambled a lot.
There's like that season of life where it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. I worked in property management for about a year, and then several of my friends that they always had time in college, and I never had time because I was working. And then they never had money, but I always had money. And then it kind of flip-flopped where we could both go on a big trip, and we went to Rio for the Olympics. And so I took about 4 weeks off, but at that point I was the only employee. So after that, I just jumped into real estate full-time as an agent. So
wow,
fun stuff.
Now, so this is really interesting to me because you, in talking to you for about the last half hour in total, you don't seem like the kind of dude that would have made it in a hard close, hard sell environment. You've got just such a laid back personality to you, kind of like me. Like I struggle in that regard myself sometimes. But what were you guys actually like selling with South? Was it like timeshares, or what were you guys doing at the time?
So there's really like a couple of things that you can like really like tug on someone's heartstrings, right? You've got health, you've got wealth, and then you've got education. And so we actually sold educational books. And it would be a lot of like study books for helping with like math or biology or college prep, or like helping get your kids into like wanting to read and big picture books, and kind of like a whole slew of things. So there's so much science and advanced sales and psychology that went into like what I studied of personalities and, learning to make a first impression. And so I've just kind of always loved being around people. And so door-to-door sales is the absolute craziest thing ever. And it is not easy. But you get a lot of attempts, and so you just naturally get better over time. And so,
right.
I mean, it was just I don't even know how to explain it. It's just the craziest thing every single day. But
I mean, you were talking 90 to 100-hour weeks, man, and that kind of brought back a little bit of trauma for me, dude. It's been a decade now for myself, but my first job outside of high school was I was actually laying pipe, working on a pipeline, and dude, it was 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night, 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. And so to do that and not have to deal with people, I personally love people. I mean, shoot, I host podcasts, you know what I mean? So this is this is natural to me. I could do this 90 hours a week, no problem. But still, to be in an environment like that where you're knocking, you've got to keep your energy high and still, like you said, create that first impression. That's a difficult thing to do, and it makes sense why people come out of that and are successful in their next field as well, right?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that you just, you kind of, the best people in the world are at sales are the high level sales, right? You've got your financial advisors, you've got real estate, you've got banking services, different things like that. You talk about like mergers and acquisitions of, someone buying $100 million property or a company, right?
Right.
But most of those guys are extremely talented. But most of the salespeople we interact with are the retail guys. Like, you're going and buying a sport coat or something, they're not always as talented. So the best salespeople, they don't make it difficult. It's building relationships and finding a need. And, with the door-to-door stuff, that was pretty crazy. So you got to learn how to connect and really create a want. And
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So I'm now grateful to not feel like I'm ever pushing anything. It's just, my job's just to show stuff.
Right.
Because all my people want to be there. They want to buy. And so a great salesperson is really just coaxing, the path to get there. So.
And to your point there, what I found is every single salesperson that I've been around that was a top dog, best in the business, the best closers, I've always found that those people, although there is, something to be said about the push, it's always the people that look to serve people the most. Those typically are the ones that are the best at it. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm with you on that.
It's interesting. So, when you talk about, man,
God.
Oh, it's just something. I mean, you just kind of randomly.
I think it's that
up,
delay that's getting us.
Oh, that's probably what it is. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I forget what his name, the guy that, turned out to be such a fraudster, but was the guy that was like, sell me this pen, Do you remember that? Wolf on Wall
Belfort.
Street? Yeah. Jordan Belfort.
Yeah. Jordan Belfort.
That the behind the scenes of that video was, he was always asking these guys, sell me this pen, sell me this pen. But the real intention of it behind it was he wanted people to say, like, how long you been looking for a pen? Like trying to find if you're the right person to talk to. And so that's what we do in real estate is we try to find the people that are looking for this. And so help them find what they're looking for. So it's not really meant to go
I
be
think
selling.
You bring up a great...
Yeah, not to be selling everything. Sorry. There's a little bit of delay, I guess.
No, you're good, man. I think you bring up a really great point with that, because even when people study that video, like from Wolf of Wall Street or whatever, versus if you see a video of Jordan running a live training, people still look at it and like, oh, well, here, write your name on a napkin, all these like gimmicks, right? But when you see him actually training on it and somebody's like, can you sell me this pen? Like, he asks those questions like, are you like, how long have you been in the market for a pen? What do you use your pen for? What is this? What is that? Because he's trying to gather all that information to figure out what the angle of how he's going to be able to serve you and place that product in a place that you have a need for. And so I think it's really interesting because most people just assume, and I think Hollywood has done us a disservice on the sales side, that we're always out to like get people, right? But again, it goes back to that same exact point. Like, the more questions you ask, the more you can understand the position someone else is in, the better that you can actually serve them and help solve their problem, which is what sales really is at the end of the day.
Yeah. We would always call it like pre-approach. You're just trying to learn about your person to figure out if they're a good candidate. Because if I have a family that's coming through and, we got a husband and wife and they've got one baby on the way, and I'm trying to sell them like a quadplex or something that they're going to live in, like, that doesn't make sense, right? They're looking for, a nice neighborhood with a school, right? They were trying to create that type of environment. Now, there's something to be said about like selling them a quadplex of like, hey, this could pay for your kid's college down the road, or when this the income coming in will help you save some money on taxes and build wealth. Like, our job is as agents are really just to listen for what people are looking for and help them find that. And I find that a lot of times people will specialize in one particular thing and they'll be well-rounded. But that's the great thing about being in the industry so long. Like, you become talented at all these different things. And so it's really just listening for what people are looking for so that we can help connect them. So, yeah.
I 100% agree with you on that, man. So let me ask you this. Let's transition to a little bit of real estate talk, real estate biz here. I know that's another topic we both enjoy talking about a lot. What's like your niche or strategy? I know you have kind of a split business with part retail, part investor. what do you like more? If you had to only do one, would you only do retail or would you only do investing?
I guess the proper answer is it depends, right? So like what my favorite thing is looking at good leverage, right? So if you compare two different things, you've got a owner occupant versus an investment, right? An owner occupant, you're going to be able to put down 0%, maybe 1%, or 3 to 5, right? An investment, you're typically looking at 15, maybe you're doing hard money and, you're doing a burr or something kind of crazy like that. But the average person, I try to turn them from a retail buyer to an investor because realistically, in my mind, some of the best rentals are the ones that you want to live in and you can charge a premium for, right? I mean, you have properties that are like a tiny bedroom, tiny closet, bad area of town versus the one where, think about this as whoever's listening, this like the house that you have right now, that's probably a better rental property, especially because if you're living in it now, that means that you bought it several years ago. Now, we just came off the craziest high of real estate from everything that happened in 2008 to really even 2022 is maybe 23 is maybe the peak. But you've probably got a low interest rate, right? So I love teaching people, why don't you go live in something, tweak it up, tune it up, paint the cabinets, change out the countertops, repair whatever needs to be done, and then turn that into a rental property. And, if you can go do a HELOC and pull out your capital before you move, that's your down payment on your next house. And you do that 3 or 4 times, and you have those properties eventually paid off one day, they're probably in better neighborhoods. They're going to appreciate better. They're going to rent for more. You're going to have probably less issues than like really crappy duplex. And, I tend to think of like Memphis. You could go buy crazy deals. That's the average person is not going to get into these all crazy intensive real estate things. So I love teaching people how to do that and then how to help them have 3 or 4 houses. So I love teaching people the real estate investment side, and really the best way to do that is go house hack a couple times, or maybe after that you start doing some crazy stuff. But the most important thing to get started isn't to have this crazy knockout deal. It's really to have a good experience so that you'll do it again. Because if you run into a bad experience that's too complicated at the beginning, you will not do it again. Right. And so that's the goal, is to kind of teach people slowly and surely how to step their foot in the door. And then I teach people how to manage properties and, lease them. I don't do it for people, but I kind of help facilitate. So long answer there, but that's what I love doing.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. I was actually with David Green, who formerly with Bigger Pockets, probably 3 weeks ago. And I was talking to him about this is kind of where I'm at. Me and my wife, we're looking at really starting to buy and hold our own properties. But with the volatility in the market right now, we're really just not sure what the best way of going about that's going to be, since we don't have the ability to be full-time real estate professionals. She's raising kids. I'm, working in a multitude of aspects. And so where we're at right now, let's say we're not going to go start a flipping company, even though we have some wholesale stuff. We look for like sub 2 deals. But if we were to do it and scale it a little slow over the next few years, what would you do? And he said the exact same thing. He's like, dude, you've got 4 kids. I mean, I would tell somebody that's single, go buy a duplex, house hack that way. But he goes, for you, 5-bedroom house, and then live in that for a year, get out of it, move to your next 5-bedroom house, and then rent each room out by the room, because that's going to up your cash flow. Because right now, cash flow in a long-term rental, it's kind of hard to do based on the rates and everything else. So to your point, though, having that good experience on the first purchase that you actually live in then gives you the springboard to go do more of it, right?
Yeah, because realistically, what I see is people are living in their house from anywhere between 2 to 7 years, right? 2 to 7 years is plenty of time for appreciation and everything else to catch back up. And then at that point, you probably do have a little bit. Now, you're in what part of Texas?
So I'm actually in Kansas, interestingly enough. And part of the reason we haven't bought a house is because we do have an absolutely stupid deal. We're paying about 50% less than market rate for the place that we live in right now. So
and so in a situation like that, maybe you want to stay there for a long time. Like maybe you're better off investing in a fund where I've got a buddy that'll do like 12% returns on people, where he'll go do all the real estate stuff, and then you guys can just kind of sit back and collect, right? But eventually you'll get to a point where you want to change. Maybe you start building a house. You could do one of those 5% down build loans, and you live there for 2 years, and then you go sell it 2 years after that. You don't have to pay 500. You're exempt from 500,000 of capital gains. It's really just at the beginning, just kind of jumping into it. The sub-2 deals are crazy. I just did my first one on it, and it's crazy awareness of like, wow, this is pretty cool. So the house I just bought's $500,000, and I basically put $12,000 down as an investment. So if you look at leverage, it's great. Now its margins are really tight. It doesn't really make any money, but it's going to be really good for a cost segregation study when, I guess we just passed the House. Now passed the Senate. Now it's got to go back to the House and officially pass there before it gets signed. But, that'll be really great for all real estate people, and hopefully jumpstarts our economy, which we need a little action. So.
No kidding. The big, beautiful bill, hoping that goes through. So let me ask you this, and we'll kind of end on this note. So what are some mistakes that are incredibly avoidable that you see new investors that aren't just getting into a home that's a single family, they don't have any intention of doing real estate other than just being a byproduct of appreciation? What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they get started as like an investor that are avoidable?
Probably just not being aware of the cost on certain things. I'm looking at my perspective. I just finished the second renovation on a 4,200 square foot house. And I just had no idea the difficulty that was going to bring. And I didn't have like a really good team. So having like especially if you're investing, you need to have like a really good contractor, which I ended up finding a fantastic contractor. In fact, I've found several since then, but going into that without a really good team is really tricky. And then also, I hate to say it, but there's a lot of like desperate agents right now, and they're just trying to like sell you something. And so it's really good to, be going down the right path, because you can, if I heard a quote the other day, if the road to wealth was hard work, then the donkey would own the farm, right? So you can work really hard at something, but you're not doing the appropriate things. And so just make sure that you're listening to people that you trade places with. And I think that's a really good tip on, making sure you're doing the right thing. So just surround yourself with good people. And, the great thing about real estate is you could probably buy like the worst deal. And if you hold it long enough, it eventually will turn into a good product. So, but I think I always tell people, make sure you know where you want to be and work backwards.
Yeah, super smart. The whole principle of beginning with the end in mind. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. If you're ever in Nashville, hit me up. We'll go pour a couple drinks of tall brown water, and super excited to be here. Really, really appreciate all the time.
Well, you got it, man. I'm glad you made it on the show, and we got to have a conversation. For all of the fine folks listening, do this for us. Drop where they can connect with you for more, learn more about what you're working on, man. This is your chance to plug what you've got going on.
Yeah. My Instagram handle is Realtor Reed, Realtor_Reed. And then feel free to shoot me an email, reed@bradfordtn.com. Love to connect. If you got investors that are looking for stuff, I'd love to teach them about sub-2 deals, investments. We're house hacking. We find stuff all the time. And right now there's so many opportunities, and I I think we're just about to kind of hit the bottom and then start climbing our way back. So exciting things ahead of us in the real estate world.
We'll go connect with them for more, folks. Show them some love from the real estate pros and the Investor Fuel community. We appreciate y'all listening to the show, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for being here, Reed.
Thanks, man. See you guys.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.